Okay, welcome back to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone online as well. I'm going to teach you guys walking meditation this afternoon. First, I'm going to describe it. It'll probably take me all of like 10, maybe 15 minutes to teach it to you. Then we're going to spend time doing it. And then afterwards, we'll have a conversation and see what questions you guys have. So walking meditation is another position that you can meditate in. Remember, we have seated, lying, standing, and walking. Walking meditation is something that has the same exact goals as the other positions. We're still doing breathing mindfulness meditation here with the same goals of eliminating craving, desire, attachment, and then cultivating the wholesome qualities of mindfulness and concentration, but you're doing it in a slightly different way. You're walking. It's very intentional walking. And instead of focusing on the breath, you're going to be focusing through the eyes. Okay, so you can do this meditation as a standalone all by itself. You can start and finish with walking meditation, or you could do it prior to the other forms of meditation. So say you notice that your mind is really busy and you're not interested in doing seating, lying, or standing meditation, you could do walking first. And then after you do walking for a period of time, you could switch to a seated, lying, or standing. Or let's just say you're sitting down in your seated meditation, you're 3 minutes in, 5 minutes in, you're like, whoa, the mind is really busy here. Let me do some walking meditation. You could actually switch. So you can really do this walking meditation at any time. You don't have to just stick with a certain position once you've started that. So you could do it as a standalone. You could do it before one of the other positions, or you could do it afterwards. So it's really up to you how you might decide to do this. So again, instead of focusing on the breath, and then when the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and come back, you're going to be looking through the eyes, 1 meter in front of you or 3 feet in front of you. And then whenever your mind moves off of that, you're going to then cut that off and come back to whatever you're looking through the eyes. Okay. You're going to be able to, when you walk, either clasp your hands in front of you at the wrist, put them on the side, or put them behind you, very lightly clasped at the wrist. What you're going to be doing is you're going to take your foot and you're going to go flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. Those are the only 2 movements that you need. I'm going to grab a wireless mic and I'm going to demonstrate it for you, but I need to switch over my online stuff here. Just 1 second. Okay, now the people online will be able to see. Testing. Okay, got a good mic. All right, so we're going to be walking in a counterclockwise direction around the classroom, where you're going to have your hands in front of you or beside you or behind you, right? I normally wouldn't have this mic, so I would just be clasping either front, behind, or having my arms on the side. And now I'm looking down at the ground, 1 meter in front of me or 3 feet, just staring at whatever's in front of me. And then I'm going to put my foot out flat, and then I'm going to go transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. So anytime my mind moves off of what I'm looking at through the eyes, then I cut that off and bring it back. Okay, so it's flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. And initially you might use that flat transfer in order to help you to get started, but eventually you'd like to get rid of that, because that's just allowing the mind to hold on to something. That's like the mantra meditation or those other meditations where your mind's holding on to something, but you might need that to get started, and I'll get you guys started. But then eventually you'd like to get rid of that flat transfer and just do it so that you're looking through the eyes, and anytime your mind moves off of that, you come back. So if you guys remember the old time clocks, I don't know if you guys ever saw one of those clocks, like tick, tock, tick, tock. That's what you're doing, but you're doing it with the body. And the mind almost gets into a little bit of a trance when you're doing this. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate it for a bit and you guys can see. I'm going to start out with the flat transfer, flat, transfer. Very intentional walking. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. But then eventually you just get rid of that. So it's two intentional movements. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. Flat, transfer. So any questions on this? No questions? All right, you guys would like to give it a try? Okay, Leo has a question. What's your question?
I just wanted to know if I could that also do by just standing and then looking through the eyes on one point on the ground.
That would be standing meditation if you did it that way. The walking meditation is good if you have an overactive mind or if you can't sit still. So it puts some movement into it because your mind's going to need that sometimes. But what you're describing is standing meditation with your eyes open. It's a different meditation.
But this would be also an option in cases of standing and watching the breath. I could look through the eyes.
You could do that. Yeah. But since there's no movement, you're just looking at the same thing, but you could do that. There's no harm in that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seth has a question. Okay. Sure. So for those of you guys online, Seth asked, what is the breathing while you're doing the walking? You don't need to pay attention to your breathing because you're going to have your focus through the eyes. Just let the body breathe naturally and normally, whatever it does, and just focus through the eyes with your mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's give it a try. We're just going to line up in a big kind of oval circle. If you have cushions, if you could either put them away or bring them to the middle so that they don't get in the way, that'll be fine. Even if they're just in the middle, that would be fine. Okay. All right. So I'm going to help you guys get started, where we're all going to be facing the same direction to get started. And we're coming around this way, like in a counterclockwise direction. On the outer edges, I'm just going to walk like this just to kind of show you guys where the track is. Right? So it's just coming through here. All right, so just line up kind of like around and space out a little bit to give you guys some space. We've got lots of space right here. Some of you guys would like to come over here. It'll give you guys more space. Okay. All right. So just standing with your feet at shoulder width, looking down at the ground, 1 meter in front of you or 3 feet. Now, just put your foot out in front of you. Don't transfer any weight yet. Just put it out in front of you where it's just kind of like lightly touching the surface, where if you move your foot around, it slides around on the surface. Right? So this is your flat. And then transfer. Flat. Transfer. Flat. Transfer. flat, transfer, flat, transfer. Remember, look through your eyes 1 meter in front of you, 3 feet in front of you, and then do flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. Now you guys keep going with the flat and transfer. Flat and transfer. Looking 1 meter in front of you or 3 feet in front of you. And anytime your mind moves off of that point that you're looking at through the eyes, cut that off, let it go, and come back to whatever you're looking at. At some point, that flat transfer, just let it go out of the mind and just walk. So start with flat, transfer, flat, transfer, flat, transfer. But then eventually let that go. Okay, if you guys would like to rejoin in the classroom, we can chat a bit about this meditation. Okay. What questions do you guys have? What would you like to ask about? What would you like to talk about? By the way, that was 20 minutes for those of you guys that are curious. That was a 20-minute, 20 minutes of walking meditation from the time that I stopped talking until I came back. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hello? Yes. Is it important that we keep looking downwards, like this 1 meter ahead? Because I think it made me feel slightly dizzy. So if I keep the head like straight, do I get the same benefit?
You would like to look 1 meter in front of you because the mind's going to want to be in the future, or it's going to want to be in the past, it's going to want to be over here, and you're trying to bring it into the present moment right now. And that's what's going to help you to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Zeth, you have a question?
Do we just do it at our natural pace? Because one of the challenges I found as I was looking and walking, suddenly in my field of vision there would be a pair of feet, and they would distract me.
Yeah.
So obviously I'd like to keep further back, and I could do that by slowing down. Then I risk doing the same to the person behind me. Yeah. So obviously it's best to do on your own, in your own space, in your own time. But is there any advice on the pace of this exercise?
Yeah, the pace that I did is really nice because it slows the mind down. And when you're in a large group like this, I didn't mention it, but I usually do, is we usually have the people who are walking a bit slower on the inside and the people who are walking a bit faster on the outside. So you guys could have done that. So if you were walking and you came up behind somebody, you could have came to the inside and then just kept on going and you would have been fine.
Because I think I actually had a problem with it at the beginning because I was getting very impatient. Just what you say, like there was a person in front of me. I think, okay, like hurry. And then I decided maybe this is like exercise on patience, right? Maybe it's like, okay, I just go slow now and I don't know when the next step is. I guess it's when the person decides to take it. Can we also perceive it that way?
Yeah, when there's craving in the mind, there'll be impatience, right? And an enlightened being is patient. They're not going to be impatient. But because of craving, desire, attachment, the mind will be impatient. So if you're noticing that impatience, it's actually really good to slow the mind down. So you can, put your mind in that situation where now you're having to walk behind somebody and now you're having to slow down because your mind wanted to go. And you're trying to slow it down and restrain it. So that's really helpful for your mind to be in an environment like this where it does need to slow down.
My feeling was that after a while, the walk was like a breath or a heartbeat. I don't have to think about it. It just happens.
Yes.
It's getting slower, and this takes me to an expansion of my mind, another state of mind. Really, I don't know the word.
Yeah,
but
it's okay. You don't have to describe your experience, but that is what you're looking for. Is you're looking to slow the mind down, because with craving, desire, attachment, the mind's going to want to hurry because it's trying to get to those pleasant feelings. The mind thinks if I can just get there, what I want, then I'm going to get those pleasant feelings, and it's chasing after that. And you're trying to train the mind to not do that, and that's where the peace and the joy comes in. That's why you're starting to notice that when you're restraining the mind, and the mind's just existing there and you're just in the present moment, that's where the peace and the joy is. But as long as the mind's chasing, you can't get that peace and joy because it's trying to get to those pleasant feelings. So when you're noticing that, that's what your mind's doing, is it's coming more into the present moment, that it's not craving, it's not chasing, and that's where the peace and the joy is.
Could walk all day long.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm completely content. The mind's completely content. You'd like to get to the point, whether it's walking meditation or seated, lying, standing, whatever, you'd like to get to the point where your mind is so content and so peaceful and so joyful that if you died in that moment, you'd be completely okay with that. You're not aspiring to die, but your mind is just so peaceful and so joyful. If you literally died in that moment, there's nothing else your mind's holding on to, that you're just completely content in the present moment. Yeah.
For me, sometimes it seems a little bit abrupt or stocky, like flat, transferred. Can I do it more the flow, the walking, like,
You would like it to be two intentional movements, because that tick, tock, it's going to put the mind almost in a trance where you can now experience the middle. So the example I gave yesterday with the piece of wood and the steel rod, and you're grinding it back and forth, and initially it bounces around a lot, and then eventually you get a groove going, and then you'll know when it's out of the groove, and then eventually you'll get such a deep groove that your mind will just always be in the groove. So what you're doing here is you're putting the mind in the groove, right? You're trying to find that middle where the mind can be peaceful and joyful, and you'll do that through that tick tock. The mind will get into that groove, and now you'll know where the middle is, and you feel that peace and you feel that joy, and that's where the meditation is helping you to be able to see where that peace and joy is in the middle, so that now you'll know where that is. And then in your day-to-day life, whenever you notice your mind's not there, because you'll notice that with your mindfulness, you bring it back to the peace and the joy. So you're not interested in having it be one flowing movement. You'd like those two intentional movements of tick-tock, flat, transfer, flat, transfer.
My eyes then also a little bit doing this, right? It's okay.
Yeah. What you're doing is you're training your mind to be comfortable with the impermanence. What you're trying to do is get a permanent flowing, going around, right? But what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your mind comfortable with all this impermanence. Because when you go from like the wood floor to the carpet, your mind's like, whoa, what is that? Right? And you're trying to train your mind to be comfortable with that. Like when that book just fell and you were like, whoa, that was the mind's like shocked by the impermanence of that book, right? And you're trying to get the point where your mind's completely comfortable. If someone's outside banging away, sawing away, you can be just as focused and concentrated as if it was quiet. So you're going to need to introduce impermanence. So what your mind's trying to do there by just going in one steady flow is just trying to get to the permanence. And you're not interested in giving it that. You're interested in having it experience the impermanence. Tick, tock, flat, transfer.
Today it was my first experience about walking meditation, and
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Today it was my first experience about walking meditation, and my mind was overthinking. I think a lot about and just repeat like step, turn, and this is just can stop my mind. And also when I'm sit down, when I'm sit down meditation, I can stop my thinking for a little bit, not for 30 minutes, but for a little bit. But I'm counting my breathing, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 1, 2, 3, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe out. So it can help, or it's better if I will stop counting.
Yeah, you're not interested in counting because that's just replacing whatever thought you would have had with counting. And your mind hasn't actually let go in that situation. So the mind's being tricked to think that the counting is helping because you're at least focusing on the counting, but your mind actually hasn't fully let go. So what you're doing is you're building the discipline of the mind that when it does move, you notice it and you can bring it back. Whereas if you just count, you're never giving the mind the opportunity to go, right? So you would like to focus on the breath, and then you're talking about seated meditation, right? So whenever the mind moves off, you're allowing it, you're noticing that that's happened. But if you were just counting, you're not going to notice that. It's not going to happen because you're just counting. So you're noticing that it's moved, and then you're letting it go and coming back. So you're getting discipline of the mind by doing this. So you can control the mind, because when the mind's angry and sad and frustrated and all those feelings, you don't have control over the mind. So if you just use the counting, you're not ever gaining control of the mind. You're just giving it something to focus on instead of using the breath, so that then you can bring it back and bring it back and bring it back. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also today, my first time trying walking meditation, and I found that the rhythm actually helped, and I was able to get focused a bit quicker than breathing mindfulness meditation. So I'm really pleased, and thank you for that. And I've added another tool in my tool belt, as you refer to. Now, in my mornings, I have quite a strict routine. I wake up at 8 and I put on my exercise gear and I go walking or running for about an hour, about 4K. Now, of course, I would like to bring in exercising my mind into that part of that process. Could I ask, what are your thoughts on when would be best to do the meditation, either before the physical exercise or following the physical exercise?
Everybody's a little bit different. This is where you'll need to do trial and error and see. Do it like one way for a week or two, and then switch and do it the other way and see which way you like. I suspect it's going to be after the exercise, because it really helps the body to get that physical exercise, and then afterwards the mind will tend to do better afterwards. But try it both ways, because everybody's a little bit different, and you'll be able to see for yourself.
Thank you.
So let me share a few things with you guys on this walking meditation. Is sometimes people teach you to walk over and then turn and then walk back and turn and walk. You might see that. What I've noticed with that is that it breaks up your meditation, and it never allows you to get that groove going that I was talking about. By walking in a circle like this, or one continuous walking, you get your mind into groove, and you'll notice that you'll be able to gain more concentration, more focus, more clarity, more mindfulness, and it'll work better for you. You'll get that groove going better. So if you have learned to walk sideways and then turn and then back and turn, you're going to see that what I just showed you is actually going to help you a lot more. So I would suggest to stick with this. Also, whenever you try something for the first time, of course, some of you guys have had different experiences, but sometimes whenever you try something for the first time, like I was mentioning with the chanting, the mind will sometimes try to reject it. It'll be like, oh, I don't like that. I like the seated meditation much better. And it'll try to push it aside. But if you've only done this once or twice, or now you've only done it this way one time, you don't really know whether this is actually better or worse, or if you like it or you don't like it. And if there's actually something that your mind doesn't like, that's actually more justification to do it, because your mind is having some craving. It really wants this seated meditation. It really wants this lying meditation, right? It's not interested in going over here and doing this thing over here. So you would like to actually do that. So if you're noticing that your mind's like pushing something like this away, the more you do it, the more you'll actually see that the mind will get comfortable with it. Because by the time you get to enlightenment, your mind can be comfortable, completely content and joyful in any and all situations. So if there's something like, for example, sometimes if people are around a large crowd, they'll be like, oh, I'm never going around large crowds ever again. I don't want to go around large crowds. This is the mind's aversion. It's trying to push away a situation, and it thinks that's going to solve the problem. But the underlying craving is still there in the mind. You haven't eliminated it. So you can have the same thing where you're craving seated, lying, or standing meditation. And now when you're trying a new meditation like this, your mind can be like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, right? Because it's holding on to this over here. And that's the exact thing that you're looking to eliminate. transformate and transform out of your mind. So put your mind in the situation and actually do it, because then you'll have a tool belt. This might not be your go-to meditation. Some people it might be, right? But it might not be your go-to meditation. But you would like to have it as your tool belt so that if you ever need it, it's available to you. You know, most of my meditation, as you heard me share, has been in the seated position, but I have all these other positions available to me. So one time in 2019, I got into a motorbike accident and I actually couldn't sit because I was in a hospital bed hooked up to an IV, and my legs I couldn't cross my legs because they were all banged up from the motorbike. So I was just like, all right, well, I'll just do lying meditation, right? No big deal. So for about 2 weeks, I just did lying meditation while I was lying in the bed, right? So if you have these as tools in your tool belt, when you need them, you can actually use them. So if I were you, I would, even if this didn't go so well for you, I would do this for several weeks, build up this skill, build up this ability. And then if you end up doing seated, lying, or standing most frequently, then do that. But then at least you always have this available to you, because you'll know if your mind is ever overactive or you have too much energy in your mind, you know the tool to use, right? If you've ever had a toolbox, there's multiple different tools in this toolbox. There's usually many different screwdrivers, and there's usually this one little tiny screwdriver that's about this big that you hardly ever use it. It's just kind of like in the corner of your toolbox. But every once in a while, maybe once every 5 years, once every 10 years, you have some situation where that little tiny stubby screwdriver is the perfect tool. That's exactly what you needed. And you go to the corner of your toolbox and you pull it out, and bada bing, bada boom, you can address whatever situation that is. So this is the same kind of thing, that you're going to have different tools. So this may or may not be your go-to meditation, but you're probably going to need it at some point. So that's why you'd like to develop it while you're learning it, and then you'll have it available to you. If you don't actually develop it, it won't be available to you. So like a hammer, since we're on the topic of tools, like a hammer, the first time you use a hammer, it's not a tool yet. It's just a device that you're trying to figure out how to use, right? But the more you actually hit nails with it, after 20, 30, 50 times of doing it, it's like, wow, this is a tool now. I know how to use this, and I can use it whenever I'd like to. But of course, you don't use it every day, right? So this is one of those tools that you can put in your tool belt. If you develop it, you're going to need to develop it. So you can start in a place like this where it's very controlled and there's no chance of you getting injured or anything like that. You can go into these big temple buildings, the main halls, the salas of any temple, and you can actually do walking meditation. I suggest you start in an environment like that, or at home or something like that. After you get comfortable with that, then you can take it up a notch and introduce some more impermanence. There's a park in the southwest corner of the city that has a walking trail. And if you take it up a notch, you might go to a park like that where it has a walking trail and there's kids running by, there's joggers, there's pigeons. You're going to deal with some impermanence there. You're going to hear people talking and stuff like that. So now you've gone from a very controlled environment to increasing the impermanence that you need to deal with in order to stay focused and concentrated there. So now you do that several times until your mind gets acclimated to that. But then you can increment it even further. You can go like on the sidewalks of the streets, of like a busy street where there's motorbikes going by, there's cars going by, you have to go up and down on the sidewalks and stuff like that. I used to do this before COVID. My wife used to have a yoga studio inside the city, and I would sometimes go there on Friday or Saturday and wait for her to get finished. And sometimes I was there like an hour or so early, and I would just go in the city and do walking meditation. And when I was going in the city, there were some streets that didn't have sidewalks, so there was motorbikes whizzing back and forth, and I was just looking down at the ground, and I needed to trust that I wasn't going to get hit, and I needed to eliminate any fear of getting hit, right? So that helped to the mind. But then sometimes I'd be walking, and there were tourists walking by, and I could hear them out of my ear. I would hear like a little kid like, "Mom, do you see that guy in all white? Is that a real person or is that a ghost? What is that?" Like, what is that? He's just staring at the ground. He looks so crazy. What's he doing? Mom, what is that? Right? And then like I had to deal with that, right? Like, because here's someone gossiping and slandering about you, and you needed to ignore that and not focus on it and just stay focused on your meditation. So then if you train your mind that way, now when someone starts gossiping and slandering you, you can be completely understanding that that's coming from their mind, that's coming from their craving, desire, attachment, and you don't need to confront that. You can just train your mind to be unaffected by it. Right? So you're going to have these kinds of situations. Even sometimes I'd be staring at the ground and people would bump into me, right? And just bump into me, and I just stay focused, right? The Thai people knew what I was doing, but the tourists, they didn't know what I was doing. So they were very strange to them. This bald guy, shaved head and white clothes, kind of staring at the ground and walking really slow. They didn't know what I was doing. So this kind of thing can be helpful in a lot of different situations, because when you go out into the world and you start doing this, you're going to have different situations come up, and your mind's going to need to deal with this impermanence. So I suggest you work with it in order to develop it as a tool. It's not yet a tool. If you're just starting to use this method, it's not a tool yet. So the more you develop it, it'll become a tool, and it'll be available for you. Okay? So let me see if we have any questions online. Okay, I don't see any questions online. All right. So what I'm going to do then is just end class like I always do, which is thank you guys. Thank you for your interest to learn and grow and develop, because as you grow on the path to enlightenment, it's helping you, it's helping those around you, and it's helping all of humanity. That's why I thank students at the end of each class, because you're helping yourself to get closer and closer to enlightenment. You're becoming more peaceful and joyful, and you're helping all the people around you because they're not having to deal with the harm that you're putting out. And in that respect, you're helping all of humanity, because there's not this ripple effect of harm going through the world. So that's why I thank students at the end of each class, because I really admire people who do this inner work, this growth and development, because it's really easy to show up to a building and just believe a bunch of things, right? Come somewhere, like you show up for an hour, there's a bunch of worshiping and rituals and ceremonies, you just believe a bunch of things. That's really easy, but then the rest of your life is really difficult, because you go out there and you don't know the wisdom of how to navigate the world, and it's really difficult for the rest of your life, right? But coming to a place like this, it's really challenging to come to this kind of place and deal with your mind and deal with all those thoughts and all the things that you're dealing with, the anger and the frustration, and even just the physical part of being here and being on the floor and all these kinds of things. But coming to a place like this and doing the work up front and meeting the challenge, then it makes everything else so easy, right? So it's challenging to come to a place like this, but I admire people who's willing to do that inner work, that growth and development, because it's helping you, those close to you, and all of humanity. So thank you for choosing to commit some time to growing and developing as a person. Tomorrow, I'm going to start with meditation, of course, and I'm going to start with breathing mindfulness meditation. But hey, if you'd like to do walking and you'd like to practice walking meditation, go for it. There's no harm in that, right? If you'd like to do lying or standing or whatever it is you'd like to do, you do whatever you like to do. It's your practice, right? Then I'm going to teach you about the natural law of karma. Everything I've been teaching you so far is about the natural law of karma, but now we're going to go in and I'm going to talk about 4 types of karma. Wholesome karma and unwholesome karma, old karma and new karma. We're going to talk about this natural law specifically, and I'm going to teach you how to eliminate all your unwholesome karma so that you can get to a point where you're only experiencing wholesome karma. Then after our mid-morning break, I'm going to teach you about what is merit and continued support on the path to enlightenment. And then after lunch, we're going to come back and I'm going to teach you how to integrate everything that you've been learning into your day-to-day life so that that's where the real benefits are going to come from. And then we'll talk about the field trip, and I'll give you guys details on that if you'd like to go Friday on the field trip. And we're going to do like an activity in the afternoon as well. I'll just save it for then. I'll explain to you guys what that is. So whatever you guys do today, have a wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee khap. Sawadee khap.